Hey there, thanks for checking out this episode of the Positioning to Profit podcast. It's episode 89. Oh my gosh, we're getting so close to the magical 100. And on this episode, my fellow friend, amazing author, consultant, story wizard, and adventurer, Katie Soy, is joining me. Oh my gosh, she's amazing. So one of the things that she's so gifted at is storytelling. It is what she quotes here as storytelling is the constant thread in my resume tapestry that's taught me how to help students, people, corporations, and entrepreneurs craft all kinds of different stories and weave them into their work. So she has a master's degree and she came from the corporate side and she's an author that's published and it's so fun. Oh, she's so incredible. Okay, so here's the deal. She just came out with a very special creation, which is actually what we're talking about. It's called The Firefly and the Storm. It's a beautiful story about an orphan firefly. And so this is truly a treasure. Why? Because it really came as a seed of inspiration. And on this episode, we talk about that whole process that she went through to create this story and what it means to her and where the opportunities lie in here. And so the theme of this episode is how creativity works. And we talk about the highs and lows of what it means to have that creative spark and delaying it and then honoring that and then what happens and the energy behind it. And it's just so much fun because we know as entrepreneurs, we all have these just incredible ideas that come to us. And some of them we put on the back burner and other ideas we put into action. And so this is what we're talking about is how creativity works. And so congratulations to Katie Soy for her beautiful creation of The Firefly and the Storm. You can find it at katiesoy.com/firefly stories. And of course, you can find the links over in the show notes. Make sure to connect with her on Instagram at Miss Katie Soy on Instagram. So, all right. The last thing I want to share is make sure to check out the Cafe Call. Cafe Call is something that I'm hosting once a month. It's an open office hours call where you can ask me anything, where I can help you through that pesky marketing challenge that is keeping you stuck. And so all you have to do is head on over to thecafecall.com. With that, let's get on with the show. And here we go. Hey there, I'm Patty Dominguez. You're about to discover what it means to position your brand and your business to stand out. This show explores the stories of small business owners just like you who are bringing their message out to the world and impacting their tribe. So if you want to take your business to a category of one status, then hang with me because this podcast shares everything you need to know about how to be more prolific with your brand so that you can have more profits. All right, y'all. I am so excited to have my dear wizard friend. Yes, she's a wizard. Miss Katie Soy. Welcome to the Positioning to Profit podcast. I am so excited. If you guys could see her right now, she looks absolutely sassy in her beautiful, it's like this princess realness moment, and I'm here for it. You know what I mean? So welcome, Katie.
Thank you so much. I feel like that's the best introduction. I want to add I can't even talk. Princess Realness to my Instagram and to my email list. That's amazing.
Well, it comes from because I'm such a fan of RuPaul's Drag Race, and every time they have that theme, they're always like, okay, this is serving up a princess moment or realness. And I don't know, Katie, if you know this. So I have two boys. My oldest, he's so into drag, so he started doing drag. So I feel like the drag vernacular is such a part of what I speak to that I'm I'm speaking like he is right now with your beautiful princess realness moment. So
that is amazing. I love. Well, my favorite GIF is yes, queen. You know that already. So yeah, I'm here for it. Thank you so much. What a great introduction. I feel so good right now. Thank you.
Oh, so good. Yeah, we're cash. We're off the cuff here. So yep. I'm really excited because you just launched a book, an audiobook of sorts. And before we hit the record button, we were talking about how you get this sparks of creativity and how often does that happen to us? And yet we don't necessarily act on it right away. And I thought it was such a great topic because it comes up over and over again. Entrepreneurs, the way we're wired to be kind of exploratory and what's possible. And it's so fun and all of the things. And so I want to talk about your book, first of all. Can you tell us a little bit about the book and just kind of and the genesis of the book?
Yes, that's a great question. So this is a children's story. It's a children's audiobook. As you said, it's called The Firefly in the Storm. It is a really quick, like less than 25-minute listen. And it is about a firefly who is adopted by grasshopper parents. And so she grows up in this grasshopper community. And as you can imagine, she's, teased and bullied for her light because she's very different. So the whole story is about her learning to love her light, basically. And at first she hates it because it's the thing that makes her, stand out, and she's teased and she's miserable at school and she wants to just turn her light off. And so her parents end up, taking her to work with this elder grandmother grasshopper, kind of teacher. Like think female Yoda / a female version of the master in Kung Fu Panda. And she's like traveled to other islands and seen other bugs and seen other humans. And so she works with her to grow her light, but the little firefly just wants to turn it off. And so at the end, she's faced with the choice of she's the only one who can save her entire class. But to do that, to save their lives, she's got to be herself. So she's got to choose that, or she's got to choose her other plan of running away from home because she's so different. So that's the story. But as you can probably tell, there's deeper themes at play about acceptance and owning your light and shining as bright as you can be and rising above. And so that's the book.
And how did it come up? What you don't have kids yet, you said. You used the word yet the other day in another Facebook Live that you did. So what prompted this? Because this is so special.
That is a great question. No, so we don't have kids yet. I'm adopted. And so I've always I feel like adoption stories have always been close to my heart. Superman is my favorite DC superhero because of his adoption story. Like I'm real biased, I'll be honest, Patty. And so, you just a little bit, so I am a storytelling coach in my other life. Yep. And I bring the power and the art of storytelling to business branding and messaging and marketing and all of that, copy, all of that. And so that stemmed from me growing up being a writer and writing novels. I published a novel in 2017 that was a crime thriller. And in the last several years, I had gotten out of writing. I hadn't written since 2017. And this story came to me kind of in a dream in 2015, and I just sat with it for 5 years. I did not write it until this last summer during the pandemic. And I can't tell you how good it feels. I feel like myself again because I'm actively working on a story. And that's how my storytelling business kind of came about, right? You know that backstory probably, more than your listeners, but it came from that love of writing. It came from that narrative storytelling approach. That's what makes my business different. I take that kind of fictional storytelling approach to business and branding, which is really cool and really special. But I had gotten out of that. I gotten out of step with myself. So this is a surprise for a lot of people because I'm like, I wrote a book, but to me, it feels like a coming home.
And so what is it that kept you from writing or creating in that space since 2017? I know COVID was last year and the whole thing. And so we probably had a lot of time. Okay, what can I do? But in between that, there was 2.5 years or so that you kind of put it on the back burner because other stuff was happening, or what prompted you? Because it sounds like it brings you so much joy.
I chose, because life is choice. I chose to not prioritize it. And I chose to kind of ignore that nudge, that calling. And there was a lot of excuses in my brain. It was, oh, that's just a hobby. It's not profitable. Oh, that's just a little thing. Like we have to, have a big girl business, right? Like, the stories we tell ourselves. Yeah. And it was in a really powerful coaching conversation with one of my mentors in summer of 2020, where it was basically like a what the F conversation. I happened to mention this story at the end of it. And I said, I've been getting weird dreams and downloads about this idea I got several years ago, but it's a kid's book and that doesn't fit in with what I do now. And I already work a lot and all this stuff. And it was like a whoa, shut up, back the F up. What did you just say? Like, what? And what what came out of that was, what people are you not helping by not honoring this call? And it just hit me right in the heart. Cause I was like, well, I'm not helping the kids. That's who I'm not. That's it.
It's so true. And the thing is that you like innately, how many times have we said, oh, that's not profitable. Okay. So if it's not profitable, it's not meaningful. And we're like speculating on what we think it's supposed to look like instead of really moving in, leaning into the inspiration. And I love that, who needs to be helped that you're not helping because you're being selfish by not launching that thing, right? And so we were talking about how many times do we do that? Do we sabotage? We find reasons not to do it. And there's actually a really good book. I don't know if it's The Slight Edge that comes to mind, or it might be The Go-Giver, where they say it's easy to do, easy not to do. Right. Yep. It's easy to do when you have that spark of inspiration and you really are like coming from a place of love, and it's just like your inner superpower. And then easy not to do because you're like, it's not the right time. It's too cold outside. Yep. It's not profitable, whatever the reasons are. Right. So I'm so glad that you did it. And so was the process natural, or did you have a framework in mind, or how did you lean into that to bring out the best version you could?
It was both. That's a great question. It was both natural, and then I kind of had to do the work once it came out. So once I surrendered to this tough love coaching conversation that had very choice words and all the excuses were out on the table, I basically sat in silence, which is a practice of mine. And I know that's something that you're aware of too, the power of that. And I was like, all right, if this is meant to be, then have it come through. I kind of like dared it. I was like, all right, if this is it. And my last book was a crime thriller. I've written other things. Like, it's so opposite of what I've ever done. That was another excuse. I was like, I kind of need to finish that crime trilogy before I do anything else. Blah, 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 blah. Just excuse.
Right.
Just BS, Patty. Just BS. And so I was like, all right, if it's supposed to come through, like, let's just see. And it was done in like less than 10 days later. It took about 4 days to write it. It was very natural. I was like in my whole artist, very non-corporate, very artisty frame of mind, like up all night, writing constantly, barely eating. It all came out. It was amazing. It was almost otherworldly. It was very strange. I felt like I was assisted and guided.
And how do you think it's going to evolve? Is this going to be a trilogy or a whole series a la Harry Potter, where it goes on and on into all kinds of magic?
I'm so glad you asked. So right now it's an audiobook series. I'm calling it Audio Adventures with Katie. And here's the other thing, because you've been in my mind, as I said earlier, before we were chatting, your work motto. I don't know if this is like a tattoo on you or if it's like on your license plate, but like, just ship it. That is your motto.
It is.
And so you've been in my head. So as soon as I put the date on the calendar, which was end of February, and I said, I'm going to launch this on March 21st, like it was less than a month, I got ideas for the next 2 stories in the series.
Oh, really? So, just like immediately there was something that you're like, okay, the natural progression of the story is XYZ.
Because I think when we commit to doing the thing, that is like, I'm not saying the right way. I think when we commit to doing the thing, it's like giving a high five to that creative spark and going, I'm here for you. Like, I'm honoring you. And I think it just rewards us back. I don't know if that sounds weird.
No, it does not.
But it's like,
weird.
Do you that flow? Okay.
Yeah. No, I think I absolutely agree with you. And as a matter of fact, we're both coaches in Jim's transformational. Jim Fortin. Jim's like the only Jim. What is he like? Cher?
The only Jim that they know.
What is he like? Cher? We just use Jim. No, but Jim Fortin's transformational coaching program. We're both coaches in it, and I know I've talked about this before. That book, is it Big Magic? Is that it? That book, that moment in the book where Elizabeth Gilbert, talks about how she had the inspiration to write this story and she put it on the back burner and she didn't listen to herself. Chills, Katie, and then goes to some kind of conference a couple years later. And this woman is speaking about the same book. But the only difference is that this other woman, she took action on it. And so what that said to me, I'm like, this is so profound. It's like we're given these inspirations of sparks of creativity or these downloads. And when we don't act on it, the universe is just going to find another container. So the fact that you acted on it, okay, and then what unfolded is there's 2 more stories in you to tell. And so what it does is that it opens up the path that you didn't even know what was there. Right? Yeah. Like, it's like you took action and then things start unfolding by the very nature of the fact that you did take action.
Yeah. That's exactly how it felt. So, and I think there are going to be more that come. To be honest, I think there's going to be, I feel like it's going to be ongoing for a while. Right now, I only have the ideas for 2 and 3. I'm working on those. And those are going to be audio episodes again. And then I'm working on kind of behind the scenes, what the best way to get the physical book out into the world will be. I know that that's coming and people have asked. So I'm working on that. I might self-publish. I might see if I can get a traditional deal with a publisher. We'll see. But if I self-publish, I would probably do it after I've gotten a few written and do it as a series, as a bundle. But it was as soon as I put that date on the calendar and I circled it and I let people know, and then I hired someone to help me. And once that was done, the next 2 stories that came in. Perfect. And I was like, oh my God, if this is not proof that I'm on the right path. And it's been amazing because it's good for me to be in this zone of creating and writing, because that helps me with my clients on my business side. It helps me think creatively. It helps me go, how can we take this, cool creative approach, to your brand storytelling, to your hero's journey and your messaging, right? Like, it helps me be better as a coach and at what I do.
All right, we are about halfway through with this episode of the Positioning to Profit podcast, and I wanted to stop by with a share that I'm really excited about. Now, the fact that you're here means that you're probably looking for help with your marketing. I mean, let's face it, most of the marketing tips and the buzzwords that you hear out in the marketplace center around tactics that small business owners can employ. The problem with that is that there's a whole lot of tactics out there, but not a whole lot of strategy, and that's where I come in. I help coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs position themselves for profit. It won't cost you millions of dollars like the big brands, but it will cost you some time. And in this special book that I put together, you can find it over at positioningguide.com, I go into the essentials of positioning to profit, which is a guide that I put together for coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs struggling to stand out. So head on over to positioningguide.com and grab a copy for yourself. All right, let's get back to the show.
I'm so grateful that the story was still like after those, because I also love Big Magic. I have it on my bookshelf behind me. Mm-hmm. And after all those years, the fact that it was still my story to tell, I was like, thank God I got my ass in gear, because it's still mine.
Right. It was a 5-year span, roughly, right? A 5-year span. Oh, yeah. I'm so glad too. Okay. So now how are you planning on promoting the book or tapping into, because we talked before we hit the record button about how you're doing a version of market research. How are you going about that process?
Yeah, so right now it's very organic, and I am pitching podcasts in the conscious parenting space. Any communities that are about mindset tools for kids, topics like diversity, inclusion, self-talk. Like, there's a whole scene in the book about self-talk, and I don't shy away from big terms, Patty, and I don't shy away from big concepts. So I actually define the term self-abuse in the book. Like, the little Firefly is like, what's that? What does that mean? And like, her teacher explains, it's when you talk badly about yourself. Would you talk to a friend that way? Right. Yeah. So it's about self-talk. It's about learning to, like, she learns that her light is connected to her emotions. And she learns that her light's connected to her thoughts. So she has to learn to watch her thoughts.
I love that.
So, yes. So I'm reaching out to any podcasts and communities that are kind of in these spaces, talking about these topics, and just pitching and asking to share. Because I think it can change and help people.
Can you please make a story of the little Firefly who wants to be a drag queen?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, the potential's there. It's endless. Endless story concepts. I'm here for you.
So, okay, I'll give you a sneak peek. So there's going to be an upcoming episode that's about failure and perfectionism for kids. And so she has a goal. I don't want to give too much away. She has a goal. She wants to kind of like, go to another island and travel like her teacher did. And she fails at making that goal happen. And she's just devastated. Well, what ends up happening is she does make it, but not through the way that she had planned.
Oh, I love it.
Right? So it's this whole thing of like, because once she fails, she goes into, I'm not good enough. I can't do anything right. Right? She goes into all those stories. So then there's another book coming that's all on mental health, Patty. you know, that's a topic that's dear to my heart. We literally deal with anxiety, depression, and sadness for kids. She might meet a butterfly. I'm just saying the possibilities are endless. But she might meet a butterfly who can't fly. Because
can I just say I have a client of mine, and she's in the parenting space. So she is a celebrity psychologist and has really ventured off into the parenting niche, right? So this is something that she's starting. And what's really fascinating is that because of the pandemic or whatever, we don't know the aftermath of everything that's been going on, but this is really doing a number on so many different kids. I know in my own home, we have that. I mean, these kids have not had that social interaction, connection. There's a lot of time where I just see that there's so much self-doubt. And as I'm going through the data that the parents are submitting, it's like they have really low self-esteem, anxiety, this and that. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because content, like the content that you're bringing, is so much more important than we even understand. Because I think this whole before a rebirth, before something good happens, you have to have that complete collapse or like the winter, right?
Yep.
And so I think we're coming out of winter, or so I'm hoping. And out of that is going to be a new season. And the content, the creators, like what you have to offer, is so very needed and so important. So I'm so glad that you have and are putting out your stories, because it's going to help people and people all over the world in ways that you don't even know. I mean, the fact that you've already, how many buyers did you have in a really quick period, and people from all over the world, right? So this is expansive already.
I'm so excited. Yeah, I have a little map on my office wall that I'm coloring in. So every time we get a reader or listener from a new country, it's like one of those maps that's tan colored, and then when you scratch it off, it's got the color underneath. And so, yeah, we're already at 7 countries, and it came out 2 days ago.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it.
It's amazing. Yeah. So I'm asking if you read it, if you listen, if you get it, then please share and tag me and let me know where you're listening from so that I can add it to the map.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. And it's just amazing how you could just feel so much better when you're being yourself, right? And this is me being myself, and all the excuses and all this stuff. Oh, I don't have time, or it's cold outside, like you said, whatever. It's just BS. And this is amazing how it's helping my normal business as well, because it's bringing me back into my creative flow. And I think, yeah, if we have those ideas, those sparks, and we let them go, I mean, who are we not helping? We could be changing lives. Just ship it.
Exactly.
To quote the Queen.
Well, I learned the hard way too, because it was like I was so in my head for such a long time about stuff, and I was getting ready to get ready, like we talk about, and just that the procrastination that we give into when we think we're like, oh, I just don't have time. It's like, no, what you're really doing is self-sabotaging. So you just need to get out of your own shit. You know what I mean? Right. Like, it's so crazy. Like, stop already. And we see it, and it's so insidious, and it's like all these ways that we, again, like we self-sabotage. So what are your next ship it dates? So when's number 2 coming out?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't have the date yet. Now I feel like I have to do homework and get you the date. I'm hoping, I'll give you a range. I'm hoping for May.
Oh, good. That's pretty fast.
My goal was to get through this launch, see what, and just on our whole topic of just ship it. I've had so many tech issues with this launch. It's been amazing because it's showing me how to be better, but it's one thing after another, right? Who cares? It's still working. We're still in 7 countries in 48 hours.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter. So my goal was to get through the launch, see what, kind of what needed to be adjusted, and then start on the next story. So I'm hoping for spring or early summer. So May or June.
And so what's your grand vision? Yeah. So what's your grand vision for these stories? What do you, like, when you think about possibility, what do you feel for these stories? Like, in other words, that vision, like if you pie in the sky, ultimate wish of what you want to create with these stories, share it here, declare it. I'm curious.
You are so brilliant at what you do. My vision for this, Patty, is I see it as a New York Times best-selling children's book series, and I see it on a streaming site. So Netflix, Hulu. Is it a movie? Is it a series? I don't know. But what I'm hearing from people this weekend who have purchased it is that it's a story for all ages. I have parents messaging me. I have parents saying my 4-year-old listened to part of it, then my 11-year-old heard it. You know, which age group is it for? And it's really timeless. And I think the beauty in things like Pixar movies and Netflix movies is we as adults see ourselves in those stories, right? And I picture it as one of those stories. So you asked me, that's my honest answer. I've spent a lot of time dreaming into that.
I love it. I love it. And we're declaring it here. You guys heard it here first. Even like you just launched it 2 days ago, you're declaring it. Don't forget me when you get to that New York Times bestseller and I'm knocking on your, Katie, can I get an interview? I'd be like, I'm sorry, who are you?
Oh my God. I mean, right now it's not even out. I mean, right now it's only on my website, as you know, so it's not even in like normal channels, but that's done for a reason too, right? So we'll see where it evolves. But you asked, that's my answer. I can't tell you no. I cannot evade the Oprah questions here.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So how do you parlay this then as a lesson for the listener of this podcast? What can they take away from what you've shared today around your experiencing of leaning into these sparks of creativity? If you were to tell yourself in 2015, Katie, I want you to listen to me carefully. Here's my best advice to you because you just got this idea.
Just do it. I would say, you know, the specialness, is that a word? You know, the specialness, you know, when an idea comes in and it's something that matters. You've got a feeling in your heart and your gut. Do not ignore that. And then do not frickin' sit with it. I don't know if we're allowed to use language on your podcast.
Hell yeah, we are.
Okay. So do not fucking sit with it.
Yeah.
And there's a knowing, Patty. There's a knowing when something comes in and you're like, oh, this is an idea, right? Like there's a knowing when those ideas settle in versus the normal mind chatter ideas, like blah, 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 blah. When you get those ideas, do whatever you can to just act on it and get it out. It doesn't matter if it's perfect. There can be typos, there can be tech issues, there can be problems. Like just get it out. Don't sit with it, because I truly believe different paths would have opened up for me sooner if I had committed to this and honored that creative spark 5 years ago. And I'm very happy that I did it now and that this story is still mine to tell and I'm claiming it. But I think your listeners need to claim those divine creative sparks that they know will change the lives of their customers, their entrepreneurs, or if they're parents, their kids, you know, whatever it is. You guys have that knowing. Don't doubt it. Don't let the world come in and make you doubt it. Get the external out and just go forward. And also trust that the people you need are going to show up when you make that commitment. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because that's exactly what has happened for me. I needed an illustrator. I hired an illustrator. So I'm just fabulous, creative, female creative owned business. Her artwork is next level. It's like spiritual. And the imagery that she created for this story, which I didn't even know what it would look like, is beyond what my biggest dreams, right? I had no idea how that was going to come in, because I was like, oh, it's an audiobook. I have to have something to show people what she is. Mm-hmm. It's not physical. I need to have something. What's that going to be? I was so stressed about it. It was solved in like a week.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. Who did the artwork?
Jajay Ives. She's also in Jim Thornton's. Yes, it's Jajay did the illustration. She
did the actual artwork?
Yes.
Okay, shout out to Jajay. So I love her stuff. Yes. Like she's amazing. Aura. Her whole vibe is she's so tapped in. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. And even this, us sitting here, like I committed to getting it out, and I thought, all right, I need to, pitch this and get this out there. I happened to mention it to you in a message when I was getting my nails done, and you're like, that's it, podcast, great. Tell me about it later, right? Like your people are there for you when you need it, and you need to get this, something out in the world. And I was so grateful that I have a community that is like that. But your people are out there, and if you're listening, that support that you need will show up from wherever. That's the magic of it.
Yes, it's so true. Like your circle of support, lean on me. Yes, it is. It's true though. It's true. You froze there. Oh, okay. You froze there for a sec, but like literally it's so true. It's like you just to lean on your circle of support, which is such a testament for the importance of having that, being around people who are going to elevate you. So as you have these creativity sparks, as you are daring to be bold to put your ideas into action, there is nothing better than when you can tap into your circle of support. And we definitely have that. And that's why it's just so special. So I couldn't agree with you more. So, okay. So for those very intelligent people who want to take action right away and purchase your audiobook, tell me, where do they go? Where do they go for your book?
So they can go to my website. And I'll send this to you too for notes. So it's katiesoy.com/Firefly stories. And I will give your listeners a coupon code. So if they use the coupon code Firefly, they will get a little discount on the pricing.
I love it. Okay, so
thank you. Thank you to Patty's listeners for coming on. The very intelligent listeners.
Who are going to head on over to katiesoy.com/Firefly.
/Firefly stories.
Firefly stories, and that will be in the show notes. Check it out over at Katie Soy. And I'm assuming that if they just go to katiesoy.com, they'll see the book. Okay. So you'll see the book when you're there. It's Katie Soy, KATIESOY.com. And you'll see that there and jump on it, because this is such a beautiful story that you can share with your kids. And I'm so excited to share. I mean, I have 2 boys, they're teenagers, and I know they're going to love it. It's just such a beautiful story based on what you said. So thank you for sharing your gifts with us, Katie Soy. I'm so excited to see how you flourish this year with your stories.
Thank you for having me, Coach Patty. It's so great to be here.
All right. We'll see you next time, everybody. Thank you so much for checking out the Positioning to Profit podcast. If you haven't already done so, please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new episodes. And also, it would mean the world to me if you would take a quick moment to leave a rating and review on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcast player. It really helps to get the word out about the podcast and, of course, the featured guests. And lastly, please make sure to connect with me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. I'm on all of them. And use hashtag positioning to profit so that I can search you out and connect that way too. All right. Thanks so much. See you next time.